Our coverage of Computex 2018 was made possible by Rebeltech and Gigabyte with their all-new Aero 15X, running Intel's new 8th generation 6-core i7 CPUs, 144Hz display, and also a GTX 1070 Max-Q. You'll find all of the links in the video description. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to We Do Tech. Now, back at Computex 2018, which was just like a few days ago, Gigabyte graciously invited us to check out one of their factories and see how they actually produce some of their motherboards and some of their components, just from like almost from start to finish, which did sound quite exciting. So we were lucky enough to go to their Nanping factory in Taipei, which is one of 3 factories they have in China, which one of is in Taipei and then 2 is in mainland China. So the Nanping factory does actually produce over 400,000 motherboards, over 100,000 GPUs, and just a bunch of other stuff per month just at that factory alone. Now, we did only go onto 4 of the 6 floors, with one of the other ones being more for a mobile type of devices, and then the other floor for server-related devices. We did also need to wear like the hairnets on our feet because they want to keep everything nice and clean. It does have to be kind of sterilized there. We did also had to go through one of those chambers where they use pressurized air to actually remove any loose particles on us, just to keep it again nice and clean. And then on the day we were there, they were actually assembling some of these X470 Aureus Gaming 5 Wi-Fi motherboards, which, yeah, I have one right here. So that was quite cool to see actually how they do from kind of start to finish how this board was made. So it kind of just gives you more of an insight of everything that goes into producing one of these boards, which was really interesting. At this factory, they do not print the physical PCB, but they do install all of the other components that goes onto these boards. So the PCB is developed somewhere else, but everything else that they do there. So starting off with the assembly, the first floor we went to was the SMT floor, which stands for Surface Mount Technology. This is where all of the components are soldered directly onto the PCB instead of being installed through the holes on the board, which later on they are soldered together on the back. This process is more meant for some of the finer detail work, for example, like the chipsets, the audio chips, the south bridge, the MOSFETs, and all of those super tiny components, which you can't really do manually, so they do use quite sophisticated and a bunch of machines to handle all of that process. Now, the Nangang factory does have 10 SMT lines with a bunch of machines that places and solders all of those components onto the PCB very quickly. Now, because it is machines, it does mean that sometimes there are some problems here and there. So they do have a computer that will check if there's any soldering or a placement faults, and then if they do find it, it'll be manually inspected, and if they find that it can be fixed, they will fix that, but otherwise they scrap that board. Then the next step is the dipping process. This is where the rest of the components are added manually onto the PCB. Except for at the beginning of the line, they did have 2 machines handling the capacitors, just adding them quickly onto the board, where the workers then is able to add all of the other components like the I/O, the PCI Express ports, the SATA ports, the chokes, and then just a bunch of more components, which really takes that empty PCB, which just doesn't look like anything, to something that actually resembles a motherboard. Now, before some of you freak out and say they're touching the boards, it's gonna damage the boards and all of that if people touched it, there are also, firstly, electrical discharge, and they do wear anti-static bands to prevent any static on the board. So don't worry, it is safe, and there's a bunch of times they do check that it works. And one of the first checks is to see if there's any misaligned or any missing components. If something is wrong, it is manually checked to see if there's an easy fix. Otherwise, yeah, again, they kind of scrap the board. And then the final process in the dipping phase is the wave soldering machine, where all of the components are soldered to the back of the PCB to make proper contact. Then the next stage is the Fct phase, where firstly it is inspected to see if there's any small soldering touch-up they need, or if something is missed. They do add that there. They do also polish the back of the motherboard to clear any of the soldering process. They did also with this board add the Wi-Fi I/O connectors there as well. Along with that, they screwed on the cooler mounts. They did screw on the soft breed heat spreader. I did also connect it and see if the RGB works, and yeah, luckily everything did. And just a bunch more final checks that they did go through to check if there's anything wrong with the boards. And then the final stage is the packaging phase, where they fold the boxes for the board. They add the serial number stickers on the board and the box. They add the new motherboard in its anti-static bag. They include all of the additional accessories. If it has like Wi-Fi antennas and all of that, they add that. And then they do add the standard manual, DVD driver, and then SATA cables. They do also scan each serial number of the box, the motherboard, and even the SATA cables, manual, and the driver DVD to make sure that everything goes into the box and you don't miss anything. And then finally, they just have to close up the box and add it to the others for shipping. So that's pretty much it on how to actually assemble the X470 or Aorus Gaming 5 Wi-Fi board. It was really interesting to see how they actually did it, the entire process from almost start to finish, and just to see everything that goes into developing or just constructing this board. Again, at the time we were there, they just did the X470 or Aorus Gaming 5 board, but they did show also some of the other boards they do and did there. So that was also cool to see just everything they do. Yeah, that's pretty much it for our tour of the GIGABYTE factory. Just first up, a big thank you to GIGABYTE for allowing us to go check it out. It was really cool to see how everything works. So yeah, a massive thank you to them. But if you guys did enjoy this video, please like, share, comment like always. There's a bunch of other Computex coverage you can go check out on the channel as well. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and I will check all of you next time. Cheers, guys.